Tiverton in Devon is a small market town with a lot of history, but you've only got to go back to 1932 for the birth of the Tiverton Tivoli. The cinema's run by Michael Jackson. Not the Michael Jackson, of course, although in Tiverton, he is the Michael Jackson.
I can remember when I was about 7, my mum asked me what I wanted for Christmas, and quite innocently I said, oh, I'd like the Princess, please, Mum. The Princess was the cinema down the road, my second home, you know. And she said, well, I don't think we'll be getting you that. And she laughed at me, you see, in a kind of nice mummy way. But I said, you can laugh, but one day I'm going to have my own cinema.
I mean, in those days, back in the 1930s, there wouldn't really be anywhere else to go in a place like this, would there? Just go to the cinema.
Queues around the block every night. I wish it was like that now, John.
Well, you've got plenty of seats.
Yeah, we had 365 when I took over, but yes. I've taken it down to 310 now, so it's looking a lot better.
Down?
Please do.
Plenty of leg room, isn't there?
Well, we took 4 rows out of this section, and because I'm over 6 feet, I actually sat down myself like this and stuck my feet out and said to the fellas, OK, fellas, next row goes there. So I knew very well that people like you and me, lanky ones, would have plenty of leg room.
Do people ever ask for this and say, can I have the one with the leg room?
Yes, they do.
Do they?
Yeah. Well, people who come in looking sort of slightly beanstalky like me, I sort of say, would you like the leg room area? And they say, well, yes, please.
So in a relatively small town like Tiverton, presumably you get to know your patrons probably by name, do you?
Oh, you do, yeah. That's Ralph's seat over there. Whenever Ralph comes, he sits there. We know he wants a small orange, so when he walks through the door, his ticket and drink are ready for him.
So it's like the local pub. You could say, my usual.
Just about, yes. Yeah. Yes, we do get our locals.
Look at this, best seats reserved. I'm going to sit in a best seat.
Do indeed, be my guest.
There's not many cinemas these days where you can ring up and reserve a seat.
Well, just here, we're exactly eye-line for the screen, as you can see, and it's just, it feels very nice.
Over the common people there.
Indeed.
Yeah. And a good-sized screen.
30 feet wide. Behind those curtains, the screen on scope goes right the way out, so you've really got the maximum picture there. Yeah. Here you've got the big cinema feel, haven't you?
Well, ready when you are, Mr. DeMille. Now, Mike, you're not just a movie fan. I mean, you are a fan of the cinema.
Right from the start, I think it was in my genes, John. There's something born there, I don't know. But I was bought a little hand-cranked 9.5mm projector, and I used to love showing films to my friends. That, to me, was the highlight of my day. I'd just do anything just to get the little projector out. Yes,
but when you stopped being a child, I mean, you decided to do it, didn't you? I mean, you got involved in the actual presentation of films.
Yes, well, I've never left film. In all my working life, I've never left film. I mean, I progressed from being a projectionist at the Odeon Peterborough to joining P&O and going around the world on a passenger liner showing films in the ship's cinema. And when I did that for 2 years, I came out and I joined the BBC as a trainee assistant film editor. So film has always been there. I never, ever lost the desire to run my own cinema. That's always been there from my earliest childhood. So few towns have cinemas, and the reason is the running expense. So what we try and do is I hold the thing together as the manager. I take a very low salary, John, but I want to do it. I'm doing it because I enjoy it, not to make money. And the volunteers, bless their hearts, are the people who make it happen.
Now, you say you've got a staff of volunteers. What does that mean? Do you mean they don't get paid?
Exactly that, yes. We have people who like to support this cinema, who really care that they've got a cinema in the town.
When I first started, I said to Mike, well, I'll come and help out for 3 months. And here it is nearly 3 years later, and I'm still here.
Mike has been telling me that he wanted his volunteers and his staff to be able to do most of the jobs around the cinema. So in case of sickness or whatever, anybody could drop in and do anything.
Mike shows them, Brian sells them, and I fix them.
Having helped in the kiosk, I've gradually progressed upstairs, so to speak, and now he's teaching me how to work the projector.
In that case, really, he's a cinema enthusiast through and through.
Mike lives in a road of what look like quiet retirement bungalows, but behind his lace curtains, It's a cinema. Now, Mike, we're here in your home, in your office. I don't want to worry you, but you know how they say some people have fairies at the bottom of the garden? Well, you've got a cinema screen at the bottom of yours.
Yes, it worried my neighbour a bit as well, actually. She came round one day and she said, excuse me, I don't want to be nosy, but what is that at the bottom of your garden? So I took her out there and showed her that we do like to have a few movies at home as well. You know,
So do you just show them out of your French windows? Like
yeah, this projector here, the 16mm machine, turns around nicely and projects down there. I've got a little sort of conservatory on the back, so if it's wet we can sit inside.
Which is very impressive, Mike. Well, what have you shown here so far?
Well, we had Mel Brooks' Spaceballs one night, which is a big hit, and a film you may not have heard of called Buenos Aires and Mrs. Campbell. Which
Yes, I've heard of it.
Have you heard it?
Never seen it.
It stars the lovely Gina Lollobrigida. It's one of my favourites. And we almost had The Graduate out here, but it poured a rain that night, so we had to go and show it through the porthole in the kitchen instead.
So you see, you've got your almost do-it-yourself multiplex here. You've got a screen in the garden, screen in your dining room, one under the stairs probably, so you can keep showing them around the house.
Doesn't everybody?
Well, I don't, but I might get round to that, having seen all this lot. Of course they show all the latest up-to-date films here, but if the Tivoli was female, she'd be a woman with a past.
Well, I came here in 1942 until 1945 as a projectionist. I came back in 1948 for a short spell, and then actually I left. And I went to work for the opposition until 1969, when I was actually offered a lease on the cinema, which I took.
Now, in those days, obviously, you must have had big audiences, partly because, well, there wasn't anything else to do, was there?
Oh, no, there was nothing else. We always 2 shows, 5:30, 8:15, whatever happened, whatever you were showing, 2 shows a night. But it was nothing to fill this, every seat. And in those days, you had 420, 430 seats.
Did you?
You fill it, chock-a-block. Those that couldn't get in was very sorry, but we're full up. Next show at 8:15, and they would stay outside and wait for the next performance. You always had 4 usherettes on duty, 2 cashiers in the foyer, and the doorman, or the commissionaires, he would like to be called, you know.
But you must have been aware of the change that came in audiences and the style of film when television crept up from the 1950s.
Yes, when television started in the 50s, 51, 52, then business did start to decline. And there were still the movies, the big British movies, Dam Busters, Town Like Alice, Battle of the River Plate, still took very, very big money.
Do you think one cinema with one screen, one film for probably 1 week, is that something that's going to last?
It's lovely to see that Tivoli still operating, but I feel that to be very viable, to be really viable, that a cinema does need 2 screens.
Do you hope it'll survive?
I sincerely hope so. It's been my life.
You make it sound, Mike, as if running this cinema for everybody here is a labour of love.
That's exactly what it is. It is a labour of love. I think if somebody who's, well, I'm not putting myself on a pedestal, but I think if the person who is running the place doesn't actually have it in their heart to really want to do it, then it won't succeed. I think you've got to be a bit of an anorak, if you like. I mean, yes, I am an anorak, but I like the anorak I wear.
Well, there aren't so many of these small cinemas left. It's a little bit like family grocers. They seem to be closing down all the time. So if there's one near you, I suggest you use it, or you might lose it.